Welcome back to Go With Us, and these are the 5 things that you need to take note of going into HOOPA Unbound Raid Day this weekend, which is going to be on Saturday the 15th, running from 2 to 5 p.m. local time. We're going to run through the bonuses, details, rankings, counter guide, 100% IVs, and all the information that you need to really help you determine, is this Pokemon worth raiding? Let's find out. Shh. Kicking off with number 1, which surrounds ticketing information as well as bonuses. Guys, all trainers are going to have access to HOOPA Unbound raids, which is going to be appearing all over the map in a 3-hour time frame from 2 to 5 on Saturday the 15th. All trainers are going to have an additional 5 free raid passes, but during this Dual Destiny season, all trainers get an additional 2 free raid passes to make a total of 7. However, a little secret tip we're going to add in here right in the beginning is that if you don't do a raid the day before, 1 free pass should carry over, so you should be able to do 8 free raid passes without buying the ticket. The remote raid limit is going to be increased to 20 per day, but only within a certain time limit, which starts on Valentine's Day, Friday the 14th at 5 p.m. PST, and it finishes on February 15th at 8 p.m. PST, so take that into account. In terms of the ticket, it's going to cost a total of $5 like it does for previous raid days, and the bonuses here is that trainers can get an additional 8 free raid passes on top of the 7 they already get to make a total of 15. We can then get increased chance to get rare XL candy, 50% more XP from raid battles, and we can get 2 times the Stardust from completing these HOOPA Unbound raids too. A final thought on the ticket: for me, this is one of the only tickets in Pokemon Go that is worth it, because especially on a raid day, if this Pokemon like a Mewtwo, Mega Rayquaza, if these are Pokemon you really want to go after, spend this ticket, because to be honest, that $5 can get you such a good opportunity to either get the shiny or the 100% IV, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Point number 2 is going to be the full breakdown of HOOPA Unbound. How good is this Pokemon? Well, let's get into the details. It originally comes from Generation 6, which is the Kalos region. It has a max CP of 4530. I'm going to stop there. For a Pokemon that's not a Mega Pokemon and not a Legendary, yes, it is mythical, but oh my lord, that is a really, really strong CP. It has an attack value which is, it is monstrous. It's 311, which is one of the highest in the game, and I saw earlier that it actually boasts a higher attack stat than Mewtwo, which is super, super impressive. But it does drop a bit with its defense at 191, and that stamina at 173 does make this Pokemon a little bit glassy. The fast attacks it has access to is Confusion and Astonish, and the charged moves it has access to is Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, and Psychic. All trainers got the chance to catch Hoopa in its confined form, which is actually a Psychic and Ghost type Pokemon, but when it changes forms into HOOPA Unbound, which is what we're all going to be raiding on this day, it changes into a Dark and Psychic Pokemon, which is a very unusual typing. When raiding a Pokemon, always the best thing to do is to look at its weaknesses. In HOOPA Unbound's case, it only has 2, which is incredible. One is Fairy, but a very fascinating thing here is that it's double weak to Bug, which is very unusual, but again, because of that Dark and Psychic typing, that is literally why. So now is the perfect time to get into our counter guide to really help you guys take this thing down. The best Mega Pokemon you could use in first place is going to be that Mega Pinsir with Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. Just so happy to see Bugs in here because we never ever see them as like a top raid counter. And number 2, the best Mega you could use there is the Mega Heracross with that Struggle Bug and Mega Horn. You could use Mega Scizor with Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. The best Shadow counters are going to be that Shadow Scizor coming up again with that Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. You could use Shadow Pinsir with Fury Cutter and X-Scissor, and you could even use Shadow Excalibur with that Bug Bite and Mega Horn combination, which is also going to hit pretty hard. And on the budget side of things, you could use Vikavolt using Bug Bite and X-Scissor. You could use Scizor coming up again with that Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. You could use Pinsir with Bug Bite and X-Scissor, and an honorable mention for Galissopod using a Fury Cutter and X-Scissor combination. Now that we've taken HOOPA Unbound down, what are our shiny chances? Unfortunately, HOOPA Unbound cannot be shiny on this day as it is shiny locked. It will not be available to any trainers, but the main thing to really pay attention to now is, now that we've defeated HOOPA Unbound, what are those 100% IVs? Remember, it's going to be weather boosted in windy and foggy weather. That weather boosted 100% IV is going to be 2862 CP, and the non-weather boosted 100% IV is going to be 2289 CP. Section number 5 has to do with the rankings and how good this Pokemon really is in PvP, as well as a raid attacker, and right at the end we're going to discuss our final thoughts in determining is this Pokemon really worth it or not. So if we look at the rankings right now, you can see in PvP, in the Great League and the Ultra League, it just doesn't really feature at all. However, in the Master League, it has a current ranking of 81 with that XL Candy. So if you guys really want to get that XL Candy for Hoopa for this league, remember you need to evolve a Mega Level 3 Pokemon to try and recoup as much, or gather rather. You need to gather as much XL Candy as possible, so use a Mega Level 3 Dark type Pokemon or a Mega Level 3 Psychic Pokemon to really help you get that XL Candy. As a raid attacker, let's start off in the Psychic category. It currently takes the 8th best spot amongst all those Mega Pokemon and those legendaries. I think that's super impressive because it has the moves Confusion as well as Psychic. This is a really good combination, but of course it's always going to get beaten out by that Mewtwo, which also has that Psycho Cut and Confusion, but it has Psystrike. And unfortunately, Psystrike is the premier Psychic type move, so that is something to always consider. But even if you look at something like the Ghost type category, I mentioned this here because remember that HOOPA Unbound is not a Ghost Pokemon, it's Psychic and Dark, but it has access to Shadow Ball, and even I think it breaks into the top 25 if I'm not mistaken in the Ghost type category, so that kind of shows its versatility. Overall, a pretty solid attacker, but specifically in that Psychic type category, really good. Now that the rankings are out of the way, what is the final word? And pretty much the main question is this Pokemon worth raiding? Something we just thought we should slot in right at the end is that this Pokemon actually has its own exclusive move, which is going to be called Hyperspace Fury. This move is a Dark type move, which is affiliated only with HOOPA Unbound, and it hits tremendously hard, but as of right now, as well as this weekend, this move will not be attainable on this Pokemon, and as soon as it is, it will probably take it to the top 2 or 3 Dark type attackers in the game. But again, because of that versatility we mentioned earlier, we think that this Pokemon is a really good substitute for something like Mewtwo, especially for newer players or players that are kind of joining the game within the kind of last year or two. They don't have a lot of legendaries or big counters they could use in something like raids. As we know, counters are everything, as well as community. So this is a great one to play. No shiny, unfortunately, but you're gonna have a pretty boss Pokemon on your hands. What is your final word? Is this Pokemon worth raiding in your opinion? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one, baby.